This is Life Transformation Radio. Prepare to engage. Seatbelt activated. Download initiated. Your quantum journey of transformation begins in 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to Life Transformation Radio. Hi, I'm Rob Actis, best-selling author of The Law of Action, voice actor, business mindset coach, the podcast whisperer, and Mr. Action himself. Here at Life Transformation Radio, we are committed to share more about real life, love, the power of positivity, romance, and of course, laughter. We care about helping others find their internal drive and purpose, and we celebrate life's challenges and overcoming them. On the show, my guests are amazing people who are forces for good in the world around them and live a life of transformation. My guest today does just that. Today, Jeff Leisawitz and I discuss how to tune into your heart and expand your consciousness. Did I say it right? Is that right?
Yeah.
Is it?
Awesome.
Was that right? That was right? Okay, good. All right, good. All right, here we go. So if you want to learn how meditation, flow, and other means can help you tune into your heart and tap into your highest self, ladies and gentlemen, this is the show for you. Jeff Burns with a mission to inspire humans with a heartbeat and every flavor of creativity to live their gifts and create meaningful lives of purpose, success, connection, and creativity. As an award-winning musician, producer, college songwriting professional, or professor, is it professor or professional? Is this prof? What does it say?
It's actually both. I am a professor, but I'm a professional songwriter too.
Okay. So, All right. Okay. Now back to you. You haven't been introduced yet. So here we go. Songwriting professor and professional, problem professional, because we were talking offline before we started recording. Critically acclaimed author, distributed filmmaker, and internationally in-demand coach for creatives. Jeff has devoted his life to creativity. Love it. At its best, creativity is a way for us to be seen, expressed, and connected. With this philosophy as a guiding principle, Jeff has helped empower countless people tap deeply into their creative hearts to live richer, more fulfilling lives. Fulfilling. I'm just so excited to get fulfilling. I'm just so excited to get into this conversation that I'm messed up all over the place. Hey, Jeff, welcome to Life Transformation Radio.
Thank you for having me, Rob. This is awesome.
Absolutely. Okay, so we were talking before we pressed that record button, and you were going to share something with me. So, do I dare ask?
Sure.
I'm afraid.
Don't be afraid. It's all good.
Okay.
I saw on your website, as I was telling you, that you had a near-death experience.
Yes.
Near-death experiences have always fascinated me. The big question for every human is what happens after you die. A near-death experience is kind of getting a look into that, like really getting a look. And you've heard about and seen, stuff with, going through the tunnel of light and things like this. So many years ago, as a songwriter, I decided that I was done, at least for the moment, writing songs about my experience. And instead, I wanted to interview people with fascinating stories. So I found a bunch of them, including a blind man, a Buddhist mystic, a former prostitute. And I interviewed them, and I cut their voices into the story rhythmically and stylistically into electronic music. I won Best Independent Electronic Artist in the World in 2000 for doing this. I thought this was going to jet me to be hanging out with Moby and those guys. That did not quite happen. But why am I telling you this? Because one of the songs I did was an interview with a woman who had a near-death experience.
Wow.
And it's a really cool tune.
That's part of creativity. I love it. You took something that's a negative and made it a positive.
Yeah. It was a profound experience making that album because I found what I was looking for was sort of like extremes in human experience. So that obviously an extreme of human experience. On the negative, side, you could say, was the heroin addict. I interviewed a heroin addict on the street about his experience and learned what is really going on in this guy's world. And he was very intelligent. He was just strung out. He was heavily addicted. I talked to, like I said, this former prostitute and her experience, how she got into it, how she got out of it. And she was totally cool. Right. And then in more positive, things, I interviewed this young woman who was a Buddhist mystic. And she was really into, tapping into the forces of the universe. And I mean, it was intense. And then the song that actually won the award was A Blind Man. I interviewed a young guy who was completely blind. And I questioned him about what's it like to be blind? Do you have any concept of what a color is? What is music for you? Like this heavy shit. And this guy he was totally into it and very insightful. And it was kind of amazing.
Wow. Yeah. It's amazing to look at people's existence and lives that are so different than yours and what people are able to overcome.
Yes.
And the stories that they have and what decisions they made, the actions and inactions that they took to get there is quite remarkable. And a lot of times you don't have a choice. In my case, I got a blood clot and I ignored the symptoms. And fast forward, I was working out in the best shape of my life. I was doing Muay Thai and boxing and had this Charlie horse in my leg and I just ignored it. Well, it turned into where one night my leg got really, really hot and really, really swollen. And I went to the ER and because I was there and I'm like, I feel like I'm going to die. Yeah. And they did the ultrasound and he goes, I don't even know how you're alive. Is a solid mass from my hip to my ankle. And very little blood was flowing through. He goes, I don't even know if you have a leg. Like, how do you even have a leg?
Oh my God.
And then for about 3.5 months, I had to kind of just chill because I didn't want to break anything free and, have a stroke or a heart attack. So that's why I wrote my book during that time and became very introspective and very conscious and very aware. And this intuitiveness about me and empathy, where I'm, able to pick up on energy and get downloads and all these things that I never thought I would ever say out loud, has really, the fact that here I own Life Transformation Radio is just so funny because I've always thought a lot of this is woo-woo and airy-fairy. And here I am, one of those woo-woo, airy-fairy people now. And it's,
woo is real.
I know. Well, I walk around people that are having challenges. I have a friend of mine having serious challenges this morning. And I said, I just want you to know, I'm thinking of you. You're in my heart. I'm really sending you all kinds of positive, bright white light and love and light. And I meant that. And just an hour ago, she called and she's like, man, I don't know what you did, but wow, thank you.
Yes.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
And they've done studies on this, like science studies on this, right? Meditating, one of the famous ones, this was in the 70s or 80s. They had a bunch of meditators and they stuck them in some inner city somewhere and meditated on peace. Like these are hardcore, hardcores. And the freaking crime rate dropped significantly in that area.
Yeah. So not only, meditation is good for your soul. I mean, I meditate all the time. It's so powerful. It allows you to get, that introspective of yourself and of your soul, and you connect with the universe, God, spirit, however you define it. And you feel better and you're not doing it by yourself. And, I have a lot of friends that are light workers and they have said they are working overtime to process everything that's going on this planet right now. I've said this on other podcasts. They have said it's going to get worse and then it's going to get better. It's going to be a rise from the phoenix. We're going to be okay. We're going to be okay.
Yeah.
And, people being positive, it reminds me of that movie Elf, where people didn't have the Christmas spirit. And, then it made the sleigh fly. But having positive energy, and it is scientifically proven, and that it does change brain waves, it changes feelings, it changes emotions. When you walk in a room with people that are really negative, like, I will do anything I can to not get involved in the legal system. Everybody thinks I should be an attorney. Like, I was going to sue a former business partner. I'm like, I don't even want to go to court. It's not worth it to me. Even the tens of thousands of dollars that I would get just to be in that energy, that negative space of energy. Nope. I want to live in love and light and not deal with all that stuff. So I work very diligently and hard in my life to not be in positions where I have to be around negative energy.
Yes. Beautiful.
So consciousness, in the way that, you go through life, it's important. And I'm very heart-centered. I can feel you're heart-centered. I immediately felt connection when we started just this call. How do you tune into your heart? How does one tune into their heart to get to that level of consciousness?
Well, like you were saying, meditation is one of, I won't say the best, but I will definitely say one of the best for many, many, many people. Right. It is free. It is, you just do it. It's a practice. It's not going to do you much good if you do it for 5 minutes once a year. But, like working out, if you do it for a half an hour a day, 5, 6, 7 days a week, it won't be long before you notice a shift in your consciousness.
Absolutely.
It just will. So that is one way to tap into your heart. For me, a huge way is creativity, both in music and in language and words. Images, all kinds of things like that. So, everyone is creative, right? It tends to get squashed as we grow up. Little kids, they're imaginary friends and castles in the air and, unicorns running around, whatever, right? But as kids get a little older, they start to get self-conscious, right? This just kind of naturally happens. And then the other kids, the parents, whoever, tend to, kind of judge this. And because no one wants to feel out of the group or weird or awkward, people just try to normalize their behavior, which is not where the creativity lives. The creativity lives in the weird. That's why I recommend weird for everyone, especially the least weird people out there, because they're the ones who got bottled up the most.
Yeah, it's interesting. So I was just in my guest bedroom, and I have in there, and I've had it forever. It's a drawing. It's a painting that I did in second grade. It's a tiger, and it's in grass, high grass, and there's layers of it. And I'm in my 50s. Now I'm just like, think to myself, I've tried to paint. Like, I went to a painting thing with my wife, and we were doing that, wine sipping and painting thing, which is super fun. And man, I sucked. It was terrible. It was interesting. And my wife was just amazing, and she just did an incredible job. And so I was like, I want to see if I could do that. So I tried to recreate this painting that I did when I was in second grade, and it was really good. I couldn't do it. So I was thinking, you bring that up. I'm like, I wonder who told me that I can't paint and stop me. Because, yeah. And it's funny, and I know exactly that one thing. I was so proud of it, and someone must have said something, because I didn't paint after that. It was amazing. I was second grade. Yeah. But I am in my weird side, and I definitely am creative, but the art has never, I could do clay. I can do clay. I can make really cool, organic objects in clay.
That's awesome. But hey, I've got a comment on this creativity stuff. So people tend to think that creativity means, painting and writing and dancing and these things. And that is certainly a place where much creativity is focused. Right. But that's really just the medium. Creativity itself is actually taking ideas that are not common and putting them together in some way and taking any action, right? That is a creative act.
I love it.
Right. So you don't have to write a poem. You don't have to paint the painting. It's like, wouldn't it be interesting, as an example we talked about, if I talked to someone who had a near-death experience and put their story into music?
Yeah.
Right.
I think
different. Yeah.
I think restaurateurs are extremely creative. We have some incredible restaurants out here in Arizona and different food concepts, and the way that they come up with them is so incredible.
Totally.
Chefs are so incredible. And I'm fascinated by cooking, and I love watching all the cooking shows. There's a show I watched the other day, and they take leftovers and they turn them into works of art. And it was just like, they deconstruct leftovers and turn them into gourmet meals.
Well, they can come to my house and do that, sometime.
I know. I was like, wow, that's amazing. That's amazing. They took French fries and turned it into gnocchi. And then they took a fish sandwich and they took the batter off and took that off. And it's just amazing. And then she made this kind of like stew. And it's just amazing. Even coders, I think software coders are so creative because they're seeing the forest through the trees. Right. They have to anticipate everything that's going to go in a way that they didn't think it was going to go and anticipate that so that their program works.
Yeah. That is far beyond my capabilities, just computer programming.
And I think in talking about creativity, I think play is so important. I think if you want to get connected to your heart-centered and your creativity, play. Like, be silly. It's okay. Yes. I'm the silly. Oh my God. I run around the house. I got friends with kids, little kids, and man, we build forts and stuff like that. It's your childlike energy that drives your creativity and your happiness.
Absolutely. Both. That's very good points. And by the way, as we mentioned briefly in the beginning, I teach songwriting at a college. It's a music school, and a lot of these students are very academic in terms of their, how they think about music. I, on the other hand, which is typically what happens in music school, I am like the other side of that. I'm like, we are not going to think in here, at least some of the time. Right. We are going to play. Yeah. That's where the creativity is. And we are going to feel, because that's what a great pop song is built on.
Yeah.
Right.
I love it. One of the things, one of my favorite movies was Cocoon. No, it wasn't Cocoon. Nope, not Cocoon. It was, that was one thing, but it was the Twilight Zone. There's a black actor. I can't remember his name. He was at a retirement home, and he started playing Kick the Can, and all these 80 and 90 and 100-year-old people got out there and started playing Kick the Can and playing. Nice. And it was just, it's one of my most favorite scenes of a movie. There's so much yuck out there. And if you can find a way to laugh, whatever you can do. I hurt myself this weekend, just jacked up my knee. I was in the emergency room and I was trying to laugh as much as I can. And I said, please don't think that you're triaging based on my behavior. My pain is like an 8 or 9. I'm in so much pain. My leg was swollen up like crazy. I couldn't walk. I was, it was bad. And they're like, how are you laughing? I go, because I would rather that than be all upset and crying and focusing on things. Yeah. So I was laughing with my wife. We were making fun. I was flirting with the nurses. They were getting mad. It was hilarious. And they even walked in, they go, oh, this is the fun room. And I go, yeah, it's the fun room. So I just think that's so important. Now, in regards to songwriting, how do you get people that are academic and thinking all the time? How do you get them to break free and play like that? Because it comes from this organic space. It doesn't come from your brain. I think songwriting comes from your soul. Exactly. That's where it comes from.
Okay. So that's a great question. And I'll answer it with a story, and then I will explain the story. So a couple of years ago, I had this kid. He was a senior. He was one of the top music students in the college. And he took my class for the first time as a senior. the way I do these classes is it's one-on-one. It's like it's a lesson, like a guitar lesson, except it's a song.
Oh, cool. Okay.
So it's not a whole class. So this guy gets in, and he's very talented. But we start the songwriting process, and I give him some assignments, and he's not doing it. He's just not doing it. So 4 weeks later, I'm like, "What's going on, man?" And he's like, I'm stuck. I'm like, "Okay, pick 2 chords on the keyboard. Got it? That go together." He's yes. Okay,
right.
Play them in a rhythm. Okay, he could handle that. Just back and forth on these 2 chords. And then I'm like, sing something, hum something, make a sound out of your face. Do whatever you got to do. And he wasn't doing it. He like couldn't do it. He was kind of trying, but he couldn't do it. And I was like, "Come on, man, you can do this. Like, come on, just like make a sound, just hum anything. It doesn't matter."
Right.
And he was still resisting. And then I kind of had to get Dead Poet Society on his ass. And if you remember that scene, the kid stands on the desk, and Robin Williams is the poetry teacher, and he starts kind of laying into him, right? He's like, "You can do this. Like, open your heart. Like, just let it go." So I kind of do this to this kid, and man, I'll tell you what, talk about the energy in the room. It switched because this guy started singing for real.
Wow.
Right? He plays for a minute or 2. He stops. He turns around. I couldn't see him during this. He was facing the other way. He turns around, and there's a tear coming out of his eye. Wow. He says to me, this freaking great line, "I forgot what music was all about." And I'm like, remember this for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Right?
That's a great moment.
Great moment. Great moment all around. I mean, fantastic. So, to deconstruct this a little bit and, what was going on there? Well, he was very talented as a musician, but he was very intellectual, right? We let our brains run the show so much of the time in human life. And hey, your brain's fantastic. Yours is. All your listeners have big, beautiful, fantastic brains, I'm sure. The thing is, your brain is not your whole deal. You've got plenty of other aspects to you. Your heart, the feels, is a huge piece of who we are and how we can operate. We've moved so much into the head and turned down so much of the heart that we've gotten most of the problems on earth because of this, if you ask me. Yeah. So all I was really doing with this student was saying, stop thinking, stop allowing the fear of doing the wrong thing to stop you from doing anything. Just feel it, feel the groove, feel the music, and then sing anything. And as soon as he did it, like, talking about the energy, it was just like, whoa, it was beautiful.
Yeah.
That's all it was. And that is a practice, whether you're playing music or doing anything, is to remember, where are you operating from? Is this coming from your brain, which is certainly legit plenty of times, right? If you're trying to figure out what's going on in the map or work a database or something like that, yeah, of course, use your brain, right? But when you're interacting with another human, how about some heart?
Absolutely.
Right? If you're trying to, cook up a recipe out of a bunch of French fries or whatever, stale French fries, use your heart. Like, just like, it's a different kind of information that moves through us. And really, the next step is a bigger consciousness. And that's, tapping into the consciousness. That's the wisdom. That's the whole, whatever you want to call it, the matrix, the universe, whatever. And
well, it's interesting, okay, you can taste heart from a chef in food.
Yes.
And you can not taste food that's made with love. You can tell. I had a sandwich the other day at a small little sandwich shop the other day, and I always joke, she goes, "And what, any special requests?" And I go, "Make it with love." She goes, "Oh, baby, I will." And it was one of the best sandwiches I ever had. I actually took it out and I went and had a lunch by the lake, and I actually drove back and told her, I said, "Wow,
dude,
thank you,
Rob.
Thank you.
I give you the gold star as like the beautiful human of the day for that move. That's great.
I felt like I got the award. I mean, it was just, she made it with love. I mean, I watched her make it. And it's the way that I prepare food for people. I'm not a great cook, but I make it with love and they can taste it. I put every ounce of energy I have. Yeah. And it makes a difference. You know, I think it's important for people to tap into the energy of the world, to tap into, just open your, you know, if you're listening to this show, you're already halfway there. So you're already halfway there. But I think it's so important to just embrace the energy and the heartbeat of the world and the heartbeat of the soul of the earth. And it's so powerful. And you can hear it. It goes, bum, bum. You can feel it. You can feel it. You know, I look at it this way, is where, remember when the pandemic first struck and they closed all the rivers across the world, and then all of a sudden they went clear and all the birds came out and all these birds and all this stuff. You know, we don't stop and look at life. You know, I think mindfulness is a one way to get really super creative. Mm-hmm. I think that's being present, and even just, you know, when you're talking to someone, be present and feel their energy. And it doesn't have to be constant talking. And I talk a lot, but just this exchange, you can feel my energy. I can feel your energy.
Yeah.
And I hope that if you're listening to this, you can feel our energy. It's such a gift in this world and this human existence that we have, is that we get to feel that energy. And that's when you're in a space. If we
allow ourselves to.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Because a lot of people walk into places that they shouldn't be and they don't feel the energy, like, you shouldn't be here.
Right.
And there's other places that I should be here. Like you walk into a restaurant that you made a mistake, you just want to check it out, and you're like, I don't care what kind of food they have. I love the energy in here.
Right. Absolutely.
It's so important. It's so important to do that. Now, you know, what are some ways that someone can dial in to just tap into their heart-centered energy that you might share?
Well, here's a specific way that I often recommend to my students and also my coaching clients, right? So what we know is that creativity, although you can certainly focus into a medium, you know, into cooking or writing or dancing, right? The creativity itself is actually higher level. So it will trickle down to all kinds of, the more creative you are in one thing, the more you will be in something else. Is probably an easier way to say it. So
wow.
Here is an exercise that I've been doing basically nearly every weekday since college, if you can believe that. It's been a minute.
I'm ready. Do it.
This is probably the best thing I learned in college too. And I think you could learn in 10 seconds here. So it's free writing, except it's a specific kind of free writing. So you get your pen and paper, or you get your computer, do this for a minimum of 10 minutes. Okay. Once you start writing, so here's the rules. Once you start writing, you can't stop. Okay. Spelling doesn't count. Grammar doesn't count. Syntax doesn't count. Punctuation, none of that stuff counts. Okay. But here's the big one. You may not finish a thought or a sentence. Okay. So this looks something like, I'm on the podcast, lasting around the nation state of loving truth and goodness, smooth and silky like a riverbed on the ocean foot, right? Just like you just kind of flow. Wow. So what will happen is, if you're not practiced in this kind of thing, when you start to do this, you will likely freak out. I can't do it. I got to stop. My words don't come fast enough. Okay, fine. You keep it going. Right? Then you got this inner critic, right? And as a life coach, we talk about inner critic a lot. The inner critic is exactly telling you you're not good enough, smart enough, you're not doing it right, whatever. Okay. So the inner critic is going to try to stop you from doing this flow. Okay? But if you keep doing it, both 10 minutes at a time and day over day, sooner or later, the inner critic is going to give up. And when the inner critic gives up, that's when your subconscious starts spilling into your words. And this is when you're tapping into real creative power, right? So you just start spewing these words all over the place. Doesn't mean anything. That's fine. Weird stuff is going to come up. Cool stuff, like things that you didn't know you were even thinking about, or images, like who knows, right? But you just keep doing it. And you do this as a practice, and you will start to notice that you are coming up with better ideas in your life.
I got chills when you were talking about that. I was like,
it's real.
That's so
it's real,
cool.
Man.
Oh, I get it. Oh, yeah, no, I get it. I'm going to definitely try it. I mean, I think I've tapped into a lot of my creativity, and I'm always willing to go deeper.
Yeah.
And that's like the opening up the Pandora's box of creativity. It's amazing. You talk about this chatter, the voice that, the things that people say to themselves, they would never say to someone that they loved, and they're supposed to love themselves. And it's amazing how harsh we are. It's a lot, it takes a lot of work to overcome doing that, but you can.
It does, because all it really is, well, it's a couple things. It's repetitive thoughts, right?
Right.
That are created generally in childhood, but it could happen later in life.
Right.
It's generally in childhood, just like your painting story, right? And there's a theory that we have different parts in our psychology, right? Parts theory. And what this is talking about is that each part is trying to do service to the whole. But because they've kind of lost touch or gotten over empowered, they're creating imbalance in your system, right? So the inner critic is there to keep you safe, which is a legit thing for you to do, right? Don't say stupid shit, to your boss. Inner critic, right? Okay, yeah. Smart move, inner critic. Thanks. Right?
Right. Yeah, exactly.
However, the inner critic and many of our internal parts get so overloaded and so hyperactive that they're not doing the whole justice. They don't understand their role. So I actually, as a coach, do guided meditations, and I do them with electronic beats that I've made, right? So most, I don't know if you're into guided meditations, but most of them are very...
Me and a guided meditation? Oh my God, yes. I've voiced many guided meditations, and I've listened to guided meditations.
Okay. So as you know...
Breathe deeply as you hear my voice. Yeah, you've heard. Yeah, that's you.
Very good. What you will also notice is that the background music is almost always this washy, very just like, very relaxing. And that's fine, although a lot of it's crap. But what I do is I've got these hypnotic beats, because hypnotic rhythms trigger an access to subconscious as well. Wow. So I do this with my clients in my classes and stuff, where I got these beats recorded that I've created, and then I do various guided meditations with them. And it's a total trip, and people freak out. So anyway, I've got one with inner critic.
I love it.
Yeah. That's
super cool. Jeff, man, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
A joy. What a joy to cross paths with you. What a just really nice time. Thank you so much for being here today.
And thank you so much for having me on the show. Love it. You rock, man. Keep on doing your thing.
Absolutely. And if you want to reach Jeff, you can visit his website at jeffleisawitz.com. And it's also in the show notes. Make it easy for you. So thank you, Jeff. And thank you so much for your support and taking time out of your busy and precious day to listen. I so appreciate it. Thank you for allowing me, along with my very special guest, Jeff Leisawitz, to touch your heart, move your soul, laugh a bit, and inspire you to live a life of transformation. I'm Rob Actis. Until next time.
This is Life Transformation Radio. Download complete.